So this was my first out-of-country mission trip, and so I was a little nervous, and I wasn't really letting God take control of it. I wanted to kind of be in control, I guess, but I wanted to do everything right and work right and do my job right. And so on the plane ride there, I felt a little weird because I knew I wasn't fully giving over to God. And then in Ecuador, while we were driving and stuff, I saw the beautiful houses and everything because they were all lit up at night. I'm like, this is awesome. Why can't I just appreciate this like I should be? And it's because I wasn't feeling fulfilled that this was God's trip. I wanted to work for Him, but I wasn't opening up to Him. And so even when I was with the kids, I love kids. I love helping with kids. And so even when I was helping with them, I'm like, oh, this is awesome, but I don't feel that right. So it wasn't that good. And then whenever the worship came, I think probably the third night, I really felt touched by the worship, and I let it come into me, and I started doing my journaling like I should be. And I really felt God just like come into me and say like, this is my trip, just let go and let me come in, because I wasn't letting Him come in to see the beautiful things, to see the awesome people, to really appreciate it, right? And so I just let Him come in, and I felt like this huge relief, and I was able to experience the trip. The kids were like better than ever. It was awesome being with them. Even work was fun. I loved like climbing ladders, painting stuff. Everything was awesome, and letting Him take control was like really the best thing I could have done on that trip.
A memory that really sticks out to me from Ecuador is about from the second week. We were there the first week in Huaricocha with the team, my husband and I, but our international workers, Mark and Cheryl Schaefer, invited us to stay a second week to go to Payas, where we've been the last 2 years. There's a couple that live in Payas that are actually Waorani Indians. Waorani are the Indians that killed Jim Elliot back in the 1940s. Last year when we were in Payas, they didn't really want to interact too much with our international workers, but this year it was totally different. God really opened the door that one day Gladys and Nuntu wanted to speak to Mark, and so we were in the village of Payas at the one house, and so Mark went over to their house to speak to them, and he came back with a huge smile on his face, invited us to go to the Waorani community. We went there Thursday morning, and Mark introduced them to American football, which turned into rugby. That was the icebreaker. And then we also did VBS with the kids and sang songs, and Ulysses, who's one of the international workers there, he spoke some to the adults, and we bought some of their trade goods. By the end, they were inviting Mark and our other international workers back to come back for another week at some point to teach them more about God. The teacher particularly really wanted them to come back because she really wants to teach the kids more about Christ.
One of my favorite parts about going on a mission trip is VBS, which is with the kids, and I just love the kids there, playing with the games with them, like just jump roping and playing soccer with them, even though they're really good at it and I'm not that good. Just teaching them about Jesus and what He's done for us, dying on the cross. Through VBS, I love that you just build relationships with the kids, and you just connect with them on a level that I didn't even know that you could do. And I will never forget some of the kids that I've met.
A moment that was really memorable for me was when we were actually traveling from Huaricocha into Payas the second week, when Laura and I were traveling with our long-term workers, Mark and Cheryl. And at one point we had to stop in one of the major cities to get a few supplies as well as get some gasoline so that we would have enough gas for our trip back to Huaricocha then at the end of the week. This was a time that God really provided for one of our most basic needs that we would, in most cases, just take for granted. As we were coming into the city of Coca, we went to stop at the one gas station along the way to find that there was no gas at the gas station, which came as a big surprise to Mark. Then we get to the second gas station, and that gas station has no gas either. Starting to get a little worried that we might be stuck with taking public transportation and with all the supplies that we have packed in the car, which would have been very difficult with just the four of us. In the back of my mind, I had this voice just saying to me, everything's going to be all right, and that I'll provide for what you need. and we get to the third gas station, and sure enough, they do have gas. So God really provided for the most simple need that we needed at that point.
Well, this trip, I really saw God's faithfulness in how He brings all the pieces of His big plan into focus. And I did that through the lives of Mark and Cheryl Schaefer. And one of the ways was when we hiked to Pacuna. We got there, and Mark pointed out this open building there where he had lived for a week 6 years ago. And by the end of that week, he said that they escorted him out of the village and asked him never to return. During that week while he was there was a man named Martin who was from Payas, and he was teaching at the school in Pacuna. So by the end of that week, he had come to the Lord. And that was how Mark then got his entrance into Payas, which he's been able to build so many relationships, and we were able to be there last year and see 13 people get baptized and 2 weddings. And so to see how God took a village that wasn't ready to hear Mark's message 6 years ago, but introduced him to another part of his plan. And then now we were sitting in Pacuna again 6 years later. It was just really cool to see how God took one closed door, opened another one, and then reopened this one 6 years later.